Death be not proud.
All right, you ignorant pigs, listen up, put down your crack pipes and your beer bongs. It's time for Angry Tabletop Nerds Tournament Recap. And I thought I would do a tournament recap after I've played in a couple tournaments, learned the rules a little bit better, and had my Bretonnians rather than my orcs and goblins. It's well documented, been a long time fan of the greenskins, and I finally got enough Bretonnians to play. I'm well into the 2400 point region. There will be a showcase video later. Hopefully in November I can do a Angry Tabletop Nerd show and have the proper showcase. But I won't do the showcase unless I have all the things that I feel that I should have to showcase. You know, so there's that. Let's get rid of the Akachan, and we'll begin here with my army. So starting at the top of the hill right here where my hand is, we have 3 characters and we have spent 867 points on characters. Like it or not, yes, it is Hero Hammer. You could dial it back. I could go down to maybe 700. In 6th edition, 7th edition, 8th edition, I used to think that if I spent about 750 on characters, I was in a good zone there. At about anywhere from 650 to 750 points on characters was a good zone. So there's really not a whole lot of difference there. Again, the reason why it's somewhat Hero Hammer is because that's a carve out to the Age of Sigmar people to come and play this game. They want to capitalize on both markets. You know, that is a carve out to them. That's why a lot of things have skirmish in the game, so that they can at least pick up their crummy models. And there was a Sigmar tournament at the same time. And when I say crummy models, some of those painters were crumb bum creeps. Like, I half expected to see a deck of cards or something like that with magic marker of what this guy was supposed to be on there and shit like that. It wasn't that bad, but, you know, I mean, yeah, when I say crummy armies, I do mean crummy armies. Like, when I was there were 2 people that showed up for a casual game of 40K. The guy had some of those AdMech robots, and he's like, look, I got this one model doing the Spartan kick, and it was like a gray model with its foot in the air, and I'm like, fucking noobs. Goddamn noobs. You people make me sick. All right? We need gamer supremacy. All right? So let's just start off with the Green Knight. He's right there, being green, and he is 275 points. After that, we have the Lily de Marlene. She's 221 points, and she has the Falcon Horn. All right, and then we have Duke Philip Pétain, and he is 371 points, and he is carrying the heavy armor, lance, shield. He's the general, Royal Pegasus, Gromwell Greathelm, Cyrene's Locket, and the Gauntlet of the Duel and Virtue of Heroism. Somebody suggested this to me during a live stream, so I said, I'll plug it in and see if it works. And points-wise, it worked for me because it freed, and this is all on a live stream, it freed me up to kind of make this list live on, I think it's a Rumble stream or it's my last YouTube stream that I did. Don't quote me on that. You should be watching me on my live stream. So if you want that information, I did talk about how I was going to make my army for the tournament in one of these live streams. And this is the same build that Dr. Luke Baxel used for his Duke. All right. Next up, we have Core, 577 points. We're starting with a unit of Errant Knights right here in gray. The Errant Knights don't have any good-looking colors. We'll zoom out so you can see them just a little bit better. Errant Knights themselves are just a gray unit. Nothing special about these guys. They're the newest of the Knights, and they don't have any flowing colors or yellow on them. That's how I distinguish them. They also do not have any of the head dressings on top of their helmets. And they come out to 132 points with full command. Then we get to our first unit of mounted men-at-arms, these gray, blue, and yellow dudes right here in the center. They come out to 165. I wish Bretonnians didn't have to pay for their champions, but such is life. And then over here you got the blue and yellow knights, straight blue and yellow. Very little gray on these guys. different shield pattern. I wanted these guys to, their colors and some of the heraldry represents different ranks within the army. I have another unit of Knights of the Realm that are for my Paladin Battle Standard Bearer, and their heraldry kind of matches him because maybe they're a different rank. Mostly it's the axe. On some of the guys, they like this Grail Knight up here on the hill, they have the Fleur de Lis or something like that. Just like on the Grail banner, different ranks. On some of them are sporting the Templar logo from the 40K kit, the 30K kit that you get a lot of Templar logos. And so I am sporting some of those, like Duke Philip Pétain he's a Templar. And so some of the what do you call it? The champions are sporting the eagle on their shield, much like he's sporting the eagle on the front of his Pegasus there. So just a little bit of differential enforcement with the heraldry. I didn't go ham. 2 units of bowmen, one at 60 points because they have a musician and I had 5 points to spend. Another one 55 points, and they are both skirmishers. I do like the peasant bowmen simply because 30 inches of range, you might get something. You might do a little bit. It was negligible. I don't even need these guys in my list. I would prefer a unit of mounted yeomen, but for what they did, the purposes that they served, I'll take it. You have to bring 1 unit of peasants in core anyway. Might as well bring the archers. I think that they might have been better served as a super unit of 24 with braziers and flaming arrows and command and stakes, but just couldn't swing the points. Moving on, we have the first unit of Pegasus Knights over here in front of this forest where my hand is. It's moving. And they all have a first knight upgrade. Over here, you've got the first knight upgrade in this unit of Pegasus Knights. There is similarities between the 2 units because I don't know if I'm going to intersplice these units. I have got to get another box of Pegasus Knights and make a couple command models and put a Paladin on a Pegasus for a Pegadin model upgrade, because I think that would come in handy in certain games as meta chases. I know in 6th edition I always ran a Paladin on a Pegasus to go after war machines. It was his job. He had a reroll. It's like, oh look, I killed your whole crew. War machine's gone. You're going to turn. We're going to look at you, and we're going to fly over here and kill this war machine now. Pretty effective. As a matter of fact, I have 2 different questing knight models down here that I'm going to turn into paladins. One might be a paladin for my Old Hammer army. I know that this guy is going to be a paladin on a horse. And then I have the additional Pegasus questing knight that I need to make 6 questing knights. And that's why I'm kind of hesitant to do a showcase video at the moment. Last but not least, I saved the best for last. Zoom in right here. 5 Grail Knights, full command. I wanted Grail Knights. I could have brought another lance formation of Knights of the Realm or something like that, and maybe buffed up my archers a little bit, but the Grail Knights are just too freaking cool to leave at home. We're going to say that this is Marshal Galliani and his valiant bunch of Grail Knights right here. I haven't given them a official name. The only one who's gotten a name is Lilium de Marlane and this guy. For reasons later, the Errantry Champion, Buffet. He has a name now. So I am going to be naming the champions of each unit at some point. But that's it. And they come out to 211 points. The whole list in total is 1,999 on the button. Almost 2,000 points. I'll take it. But one thing that I was looking for is that I felt that my army was too small a lot of the times initially when I was making my list. I talked about that on stream a lot, and because there's certain things that I think that the Bretonnians need to be successful, and one of the things that you need to be successful, as we'll get into here with the first battle report, is target saturation. All right, so if you look right here, that's 2 units of Pegasus Knights. They represent a direct threat to the back line. That's 2 targets, that's 2 cannonballs, that's 2 spells, that's 2 units shooting at them on either side of the table. That's target saturation. So I think mandatory For Bretonnians, you're going to need at least 2 Pegasus Knights. It doesn't matter what... 2 units of Pegasus Knights with the first knight. Doesn't matter what flavor, whether it's Exiles or Crusaders. Luckily, I didn't see any other Bretonnians at this tournament because I wouldn't have been able to pray. And then you come down here, 3 units of Knights of the Realm. All right? Now, it would be a little bit opposite if it were a 6th edition army. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lances of knights with 1 unit of Pegasus Knights. That's kind of like the trade-off there, but this is a list of its time. All right? And then 2 units of archers, and they do soak up shots because let's say I just move 5 inches, 8 inches first turn, and I get into a good position against elves. Static targets of elves, static targets of toughness 3. I can do damage. All right? I don't have to do a lot of damage, but I can do damage. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of like between the 2 of them, it's kind of like having the fireball spell. All right? I went with battle magic the entire time and always took a spell from the Lore of the Lady, but my magic didn't really come into play here. Again, I'm going to keep the Falcon Horn, but I'm going to probably find a way to put a Dispel Scroll on her or something like that. Little bit of tweaking for the next tournament list or something like that, but I just don't know. But this is the list. This is what I'm going with. Let's get into that first battle. So we have our first tournament game, and this is Dark Elves versus Bretonnians, my Bretonnians. And so this is what it looks like for deployment. On my extreme left, I'm anchored with a unit of Pegasus Knights and the Errant Knights. As you can see there, I've got a unit of blue. The unit in blue, they're Knights of the Realm. Then I got a unit of Pegasus Knights. Then I got another unit of Knights of the Realm. They're the ones in the yellow and gray. And then I've anchored my flank with the Lord. The scenario basically is the one where you roll off to see which units come in. So the one unit for me that didn't come in was the Grail Knights. Remember this for later. He didn't get a Bolt Thrower, a Sorceress, and his other level 4 Sorceress. Let me kind of go over his list real quick. He's got some Doomfire Warlocks, a level 2, 3 Bolt Throwers, some Shades in the middle, big, huge unit of 10 Dark Riders, a level 4 Sorceress on a Dragon, and a unit of 10 crossbowmen in that house. Now, the way the buildings are in this tournament is you could shoot all of your guys out of one facing, but no more than 10 can shoot, and 20 can be held into a building. And that's how that works. But my thought process was, let's threaten the dragon with the Duke, and we'll keep him on the other side of that forest for a turn, because he's not going to come out and just charge a unit of knights with the dragon if the Duke's sitting there. So that was my thought process, is where's the most amount of danger going to come from? I don't really care if he gets shot at. He's doing his job if he gets shot at. So I'm going to basically thrust towards the center in between the 2 forests. Those where the archers are and where the shades are, those are actually forest flats. And then the 2 bolt throwers are on a hill to my extreme left, just before the Dark Riders there. So that's my initial plan coming out turn 1. Of course, I prayed, and then he got to go first. So, of course, he took the first turn. I lost 3 Errant Knights from his shooting, from the Bolt Throwers and the Dark Riders. I even lost a Pegasus Knight. As you can see on the extreme left there, Grail Knights are off the table. And so what I did was I thrusted towards the center. He even took out a few archers, and I moved up with my, what do you call it? My gray unit of Knights of the Realm. And they're actually carrying the Damsel, because there's just so much shooting that I didn't want to take a chance of losing her. And I wanted to get her as close to the level 4 as possible, but I wasn't going to make the level 2. And so this is a really nasty list where his whole goal is to throw out a bunch of vortexes and a bunch of shots. And the one unit he didn't get on was a unit of Corsairs. So he's missing a unit of Corsairs that also never came on. I forgot about that. But I thrusted towards the center. I took shots where I could, thinking I'd get lucky with my archers, because sometimes you do. With a range of 30 inches, you don't really need to move a whole lot. And I also wanted to see if I could chaff out that dragon. Now I've got my Duke on the other side of that forest, so his dragon can't see me. you know, and that's where I put him. So I've got the Doomfire Warlocks, the Unit of Knights in the center. That's good. The Shades aren't going to mess with me. As a matter of fact, they moved away when I tried to fireball them because they have the evasive special rule. So my whole goal is to seek a combat. So what I did was I took my Pegasus Knights, my second unit of Pegasus Knights. That's the one with the champion and the lance in the center. See my hand in the center right here, and I'm going to use them to engage the Dark Riders. I'm not going to use the broken unit because I don't expect them to survive. He's going to throw a lot at that unit next turn, and I'm not expecting them to survive. If they survive, they're going up and over into the bolt throwers. The bolt throwers won't offer any resistance to 2 Pegasus Knights whatsoever. We've got to take that hill, or we've got to threaten what's on that hill. And then you've also got the Errant Knights to back up the center. It's a long bomb charge, but you have to try when you got all this shooting. I've dealt with this before, back in 7th edition. All shooty lists. I've also dealt with this back in 6th edition. It was mostly dwarf armies. I learned very quickly that you have to have a certain amount of target saturation. So even without the Grail Knights, I've got 2 units of Pegasus Knights, they're very quick. I've got 2 units of archers, so that's 4 drops. And, the archers did take up some magic missiles, and that took pressure off of my knights. And then I have 3 lances and a duke. So that's 8 drops minus the Grail Knights. And if I have to, I can put the Prophetess out there for an additional drop if she does draw any fire for being the closest target. So so with this army, the first thing that I thought of is that I'm probably going to run into some shooting armies. I need to have proper target saturation. So real quick on his turn 2, he throws everything but the kitchen sink at these Pegasus Knights. He kills all but 1 of the Errantry Knights. And so that's why I put that little 6 out there, because the lady protects, and they performed admirably. I didn't take a single wound on them. I think he shot all 10 of the Dark Riders in there on them, and I made some nice 4+ saves, and I made a couple 6+ wards. The bolt throwers, I think he took both of those, and he finished off the Errant Knights that are down below there, so it's just the champion left in the unit. He threw magic at the Knights of the Realm. He threw magic at the other units of the Pegasus Knights, and did what he could with his shades. And on that side where I'm more thick in the middle, it didn't really do much, per se, and that's kind of the end of the photo. So that's what he did on his turn. Of course, he rolled to see what would come on, and nothing he had came on. And then nothing I had in my first turn came on. And so it was a really unlucky rolls there. He could have used his extra level 4 wizard at this moment in time, because I don't have any magic on this side of the table to check it. So now comes the moment of truth. The Green Knight awoken on my turn 2, and I used him to charge the dragon, keep the dragon in place, and I also smacked the dragon with a unit of knights for the additional combat resolution. So I'm going to have close order. I'm going to have a banner. That's really good. I'm not going to have the flank with the Green Knight, but that's good enough. And of course, what I did was I immediately challenged the dragon, because it's a sorceress with 0 magic weapons. I mean, even if she had an ogre blade at weapon skill 4, 2 attacks, she probably wasn't going to accomplish much. And the dragon is there to crush things. It will crush knights, but it can't crush the Green Knight. It can't stomp the Green Knight. It can't do anything to the Green Knight. So I locked it up. I did think about charging with my Duke, but I said, let's get rid of the center of his army, which is the Doomfire Warlocks. And then, as you can see on the far left of my screen there, I shot up over his Dark Riders onto the hill and went into the first bolt thrower. Gotta shut those bolt throwers down. You can see another one of his wizards showed up right there. And he's got, the dice are actually marking which one's which. But when you have this many wizards and everything like that, I had actually taken my list and I had wrote down what each spell caster had. And that's very important. I did slow down our time. You're given 3 hours per round, but I did slow down our time. I said, let's just go through one wizard at a time, and I always do this at every tournament. I always write down my opponent's spells and which wizard has what. All right, so that there's never any confusion. And I always say, which wizard is this? Is it A, wizard because I think he had three. He had 2 level 2s and a level 4. So is this A or B? And I already know that the other one is on a dark steed, so it doesn't matter because I'm fighting the one with the dragon in the center. The Duke and the Knights charge the Doomfire Warlocks. I've got, the banner, the static combat res for first charge and everything, the 2 close orders. That's actually really good there. And then as you can see, he's opened up a vortex behind me, which is the whole point of this army. Now, one thing I didn't know is that those shades had great weapons. But I don't need to kill the dragon. I just need to lock the dragon up. I can't have the dragon charging my knights. And the shades can't do anything to the Green Knight anyway. And if he puts the shades into the Green Knight, that's just going to give me free combat res. But I'm fighting a challenge, so I have to keep challenging. So they would be useless there. As you can see, the Pegasus Knights with that lone... I don't know if I can scroll over so you can see him. With that lone champion over here from the Errant Knights, they charge the Dark Riders. Now, the Dark Riders are a little bit tougher than they look. They do have a 5+ armor save. I am hitting these guys on 4s. And if you don't have a good amount of average rolls, you're not really going to do much to these guys. So it ended up just kind of like that. I didn't do a whole lot to the Dark Riders. I challenged out his champion with my Errant Knight champion to take 2 attacks away from him. And I believe in that first round, I only killed like 2 or 3. I didn't kill very many. And it was a back and forth combat. But now that they're engaged, they're not shooting at me. They're not shooting at me, and they're not going to do a whole lot. So basically, I've neutralized all his threats. My Grail Knights didn't show up, and neither did his Corsairs. So I'm in a really good spot here. I also lost a unit of peasants, and that's about it. Just heading into this turn, I've gotten everything that I wanted. His dragon's locked up, threat neutralized. He can't refuse the challenge. Don't need a Gauntlet of the Duel or anything. It's the only character in there. It has to accept the challenge. So Ethereal Green Knight on the dragon, really good. And then we get the breakthrough. So here we are after all the combats. Turns out what happened with his other wizard that was on that hill, I was just within her arc to touch her, and she panicked, and we ran her down because we overran. And we touched her, and we just overran her like that, and there was nothing she could do. We had actually taken a wound for our troubles somewhere along the way, or we might have charged her, but this is what it looks like. You got a static wall. We're taking wounds from the Dark Riders there, but that's okay. That vortex moved through us, killed 2 knights, nothing we can do. We've got a wizard out in the open. We're in a good spot. There's not enough there to kill the knights now. Even if he shoots a bolt at me, 6 bolts at me, and a fireball, it's not going to do anything. I'm going to make some saves, and 2 knights is more than enough to take down a Dark Elf Wizard. As you can see, I turned my Duke over there to look at the rear end of those shades. I've got those guys on lockdown, and I'm in a really, really good spot. So here's another angle just from where I'm at here of just the Green Knight and the other side of the battlefield and stuff like that. Grail Knight's not doing anything, and you can still see what he has off of the table. The Corsairs are in his box. So turn 3, not a lot happened. It was just a little bit back and forth. Again, Grail Knights didn't show up. His Corsairs didn't show up. And I think one of his Bolt Throwers showed up. And the big wizard that he needed to show up didn't show up, the level 4 on the steed. We were finally successful in breaking the, what do you call it? Breaking the wizard. He did a hammer. He was doing hammer hand every time to my Green Knight to put wounds on it. And it was working because I couldn't make a save with the Green Knight. So I would take 1 wound and then I'd fail that wound. And then he also charged his shades in, and that's where I took an additional casualty. I told him I wouldn't really do that. He's like, oh yeah, well they have great weapons. Now, that's good in theory, and he flubbed his rolls and only killed 1 knight. We won combat resolution there. His dragon broken ran, and the Green Knight ran it down. Those guys... I forgot what they did. They held. They did not run away. And then I think they... okay, so the Green Knight ran the dragon down, and then we were just out of combat or something like that. They fled, actually, and they didn't flee very far. That's what happened. Okay, so they fled, and then we ran the dragon down, and it was over, or the dragon ran off the table, and then I've got my Duke. So what would inevitably happen now is that I would charge the rear end of those guys with my Duke. He's gonna solo that whole unit, and then we go to the end photo here. You can see over here, Grail Knight's still not up there. We ran down his other wizard. We went over towards this end of the board. We overwhelmed the bolt thrower. We've got one Dark Rider left. We actually started to kill these guys. And one cool thing about this game is for like 3 rounds, the errantry champion continued to challenge and challenge and challenge the Dark Rider champion, and we did nothing to each other for 3 rounds. Even when I had Lance and I hit him twice, I rolled double ones to wound him. It was epic. He just wanted his... So he's earned his name. His name is Buffet, but I got to figure out where he's from. And he challenged and did absolutely nothing. We had another bolt thrower off in that corner that we were going to go after. So his two level 2 wizards are dead. His big wizard, I think she came on, but she didn't really do anything. And then, as you can see there, my Duke ran off some of these, what do you call it, guys? These shades. With this right here, we agreed that the Green Knight could just charge them because he's ethereal, which wasn't a good idea because I had 2 rounds of fighting these crossbowmen where I just killed one guy a turn. I guess he got a little tired after that dragon. We went over there. And we went over there and we chased off that level 4 wizard is what we did. We chased her off. She wasn't going to do much to a unit of knights with a damsel in there. So, yeah, this is kind of where the game ends and everything. It was a victory for the, Bretonnians, and let me see the scorecard on that. Yeah, I only surrendered 175 points on that, one, which was really good for me going into it, and I think that was the first round. He took... So here we are, round 2 against Skaven. This is after Skaven turn 1 and my turn 1. So what happened was, I'm sorry I don't have a deployment photo or anything like that. What happened was he had these doom wheels on each side of his... deployment. They were the anchors for his flanks, and they got some pretty high movement. One on the far right hand side here, on my far left hand side of the table, basically went up way too far, and I noticed that this blue unit right here had the flank on it. So I double charged it with the Knights, and I double charged it with the Pegasus. They went in the front, the Lance went on the side, and we completely popped it and ran it down, and it couldn't do anything. So I turned around there after testing the restrain, and I moved forward around the forest over there with the Pegasus Knights. He had a unit of, what do you call it? Clan Rats that I just charged with the Duke, and the Duke went in there, and he won by a static combat res of I think like 4. The Rats broke and fled, and the Duke ran them all down. The Green Knight appeared... jumped out of the forest and went behind him in front of the Giselles. Not my best move because the Giselles have magic shooting attacks, but I had a lot of rattling guns and those templates that his, what do you call it, Doom Wheels put out. Were putting out a lot of shots into me, and down here, we'll zoom in on this, these Pegasus Knights... got the brunt of all of that, and they even took a wound for their troubles, but the lady protects, because everything that he was doing was only -2 to my armor, and it gave me a 5+ ward save. And that one hurt itself and put 2 wounds on itself, and I believe they only have, I think it's something pathetic, like 4 or 5 wounds on the Doom Wheels, and these Pegasus, they just charged it with faith in the lady. We got 2 6s and finished it off, so it didn't get an armor save for its last 2 wounds. Because Lances are armor bane, and they're also -2. And so he didn't save, and we popped it, which is really good for me. So I'm like, I only have a unit of Pegasus on this side, and that's basically all I've got. So in the center here for deployment, you can see that we've already lost a Grail Knight. We've got the 2 units of peasants on each side, just kind of holding it down. We were plucking off shots into the unit of Clan Rats here. Got a template that he put out in front of my... errant knights, and I'm thrusting towards the center here with this gray unit of Knights of the Realm. But I've already broken through his lines, and I've got to deal with these Giselles. The longer I leave these guys out, the worse off it is. I put the Green Knight over here from this forest into there because I got to kill the Warlock. I got to get rid of some of his magic, and I believe there might have been a Warlock in with that unit of clan rats that I cut down. I think he had 2 Warlocks. Don't quote me on that. But that's kind of how the first 2 turns went. As you can see there, I've taken some casualties from his shooting. Let me zoom in over there. Is that another additional Warlock? No, it's just clan rats. And he's got a lot of rattling guns. And those rattling guns were plucking off shots into me. But again, the rattling guns are they're random. And if you've killed the Grail Knight and 4 Knights of the Realm, and 3 Knights, if you got 4 Knights, you're doing your job. You're causing casualties, and this is a much harder fight because you never know what Skaven are going to do, and you've got to get into the mix very quickly. And that's what I did in the first opening salvo here. This is just another angle here of the other side of the field. Yeah, he did have 2 Warlocks. I wrote down their spells. As you see, I got the Grey Seer. So every page of the tournament, whoever I fight, I take the time, I write down my spells so they know what I have. And then, if they're casting and I don't know who is it coming from A, B, or C, the Grey Seer. So that's what I always do. I suggest you always do the same. Just another angle there. As you can see, the 2 Doom Wheels over there. Yeah. Yeah, this one moved out really far. One of these Doom Wheels just came out right here into my deployment zone. And its flank was, because I measure off these 2 sides in the back rank, its flank was just overly exposed. And I'm like, I'm taking that flank. I need to get rid of these things quick because they're gambling machines. They're basically like slot machines. You never know what they're going to do, and they fire 3 template weapons a turn, and that's what they're dropping on you right there. So his turn 3, he has a banner that gives his guys Swift Stride, and his Storm Vermin unit with the Battle Standard Bearer came all the way out of this position and basically jumped onto this unit of the Knights of the Realm. I don't know why I didn't countercharge there. I don't know what it was. Something kept me from countercharging. Maybe I should have. I think I did countercharge. But he still had initiative on me. I might have countercharged. I don't remember. But yeah, they made a long bomb charge into my Knights, which isn't good. Over here, you have the... he's going to open up on these Errant Knights with everything that he's got. The Doomfire Warlock, the Bell, the Giselles, what do you call it? The other rattling guns right here and here. They're going to open up everywhere there. He's kind of given up on the Grail Knights at this point. These guys right here represent a higher threat value because I can just smack right into this unit if I'm at full strength, and I'm probably going to win, which is what would happen. And so basically he came in here, and then I'm still set up over here. He shoots the Green Knight dead, by the way, with all the Giselle fire. And so we go over to my turn. And, God, I have to make sense of what happened here. Give me 1 second. Boom. So, my turn, he shot, like I said, he opened up on these guys. So I clearly charged the, what do you call it? I charged the rattling gun with those last 2 Knights. I charged his, what do you call it, unit with the, his Storm Vermin, not his Storm Vermin, but his Clan Rats unit with my Grail Knights. They came out and he ran away. Or I think we might have fought a combat, and then I ended up hitting right there. And then I charged with my peasants, basically, to shut his magic down for a turn. And then this was the best part. When he was done fighting those peasants, I rolled Snake Eyes to stay there, which was hilarious. Or he might have had a spell that made them impetuous. I'm not sure. I put those Pegasus Knights up there. As you can see, they've got an additional wound. They're not long for this world, but the goal of these Pegasus Knights over there is to turn the flank of those what do you call it, guys? Those Giselle guys up here. Because my lord he's fighting these guys, but they have a 4+ armor save. He didn't do too well on the charge, so I have to keep grinding on them, but I've shut those guns down, and I know it's a waste of his time, but I can't kill him blow a screaming bell. I can't kill him blow chariots. So using him as a giant piece of chaff and just going after some of these Giselles, that's one thing I've got to shut down and be wary of. He's got the Warlock over here. Over here, I must have done some damage, and then I countercharged here, and I charged there, which wasn't the best decision with the peasants. And we drew from combat, and I didn't charge back in there. There's a gap there where I took them out of combat because I think he lost that one, and I didn't follow. Yeah, he lost this combat, and I didn't follow up. I did just enough damage to him to keep him from winning, and he backed off a little bit. This banner unit, pretty scary. Storm Vermin did kind of get a bump from the last edition. They can switch out from their halberds to have magic attacks. But yeah, so I decided to stay with them, but I did not rejoin the peasants into that unit because I don't want to just give him free combat res. I think when I initially charged them, I said, I just need the extra flank. That's all. And so I won from some static combat res. And I think the Pegasus were also part of that fight. But I can't quite remember. So moving on. There's the double ones right there for the peasants, as you can see. We'll just zoom in on that. These guys proving, yes, my liege, my sword's by your side. And they rolled the double ones. He killed some... There's 2 rat ogres on the bell, by the way. And so that's what happened in turns 3. So his turn 4, he ended up winning the combat against the 2 knight units. Again, they're pretty... The Storm Vermin did get a little bit of a buff. They got that halberd on them. They're decent weapon skill. They've got a 5+ save, and they've got magic attacks. He ended up killing both Knights of the Realm units there in that one and capturing those standards. And then he bumped into the Green Knight when we ran away. And he caught us, I think. And then that's not good for the Green Knight because he can change the Warpstone weapons. And my turn, the Green Knight did hold. My turn, I held, and I challenged out his BSB and killed him because that guy had been a thorn in my side with the Green Knight. And I only did 1 wound, which is all I need with the Green Knight's Dolorous Blade. And I also put the Errant Knights to help out if we needed it. And I put the Pegasus Knights in the rear. Over here, we charged the Warlock, and like I said I was going to do with the Pegasus Knights, I came up and over and charged his what are these called? Giselles. I charged the Giselles with the Pegasus Knights in the flank, and then on his turn 4, I actually killed off those last 2 Giselles, and I primed myself ready for this charge that I made with the Duke over here to the rear end of this Vermin unit. I keep calling them Storm Vermin, to the rear end of these clan rats. And I accidentally left my wound marker. I'm cheating. I left my wound marker. So we're going to continuously do, now that they don't have a 4+ save, is we're just going to grind bases off of this unit and get rid of them entirely. And we're going to try to do some mop-up operations. Of course, I moved these peasants who aren't doing anything just into the center. They've actually lost a couple of guys. You know, again, a lot of shooting from this army. This army is very dangerous. But one problem I see for the foreseeable future with Skaven is that they're a gambler's army. And like I said with Fanatics and tournaments and everything, if you're relying on Fanatics to bail your ass out of the sling in the 11th hour, just expect to lose. Just expect to lose simply because that's been my experience personally. If I gamble too hard, I will always lose. The house always wins. So it's like, oh, I hit you 6 times with this Fanatic. I even lowered your toughness. And look, I rolled 4 ones and then you made your ward save anyway. And I did 1 whole stinking wound to your Demon Prince, which happened in another tournament. So, yeah, that's how turns 4 kind of worked out. I know that the Pegasus Knights killed a bunch of those Giselles and pushed them back. We got the rear end of there, and the Duke is going to just put in work. You know, the Duke is awesome. He hits on 2s against weapon skill 3. He's going to just grind these guys to dust. Not to mention the Pegasus is strength 5 and it's got 2 AP1 stomps. So we're going to put some work in on this unit. And these guys have done very well to hold up the bell. It's got 6 Rat Ogre attacks, and they didn't really hit me a whole lot, even though they needed 3s to hit me. So there's that. So here we are for the final shot of the game. Basically, yeah, we've been knocking off stands, killing those Giselles. I got those Errant Knights sitting there, and I had killed his BSB. The, had finally ran off those peasants. The Screaming Bell runs off the peasants. As you can see, that unit of clan rats has been basically devastated by the Duke, and I've turned the flank of the Screaming Bell. So all it could do is turn around and look at me and be real scary. And this is about where we called the game. And it was a victory for Bretonnia, but at what cost? This is the one where I did lose some hard points here to the opponent. I lost 2 standards, and I lost 2 units. So here we are, Game 3. This is Bretonnia versus Warriors of Chaos. I've played this guy before. He actually beat my Orcs and Goblins army. It was one of those matches where if I had just been able to kill a few of those Chaos Knights with the magic buffs that I got off and everything and the shooting that I had, it would have been way better for me. Like, I was... In that first initial clash, all I had to do was kill some knights, and I had 2 opportunities that were all in my favor to do that, and he made too many armor saves. I killed like 1 guy where I should have killed like 3 of the guys, and then if I had taken out that chaos unit, it wouldn't have been as big as a threat. And so turn 1, not much to say. Of course, deployment kind of looks something like this. Let me zoom out here. You go up. I've got my Duke all the way over, and it's Mountain Pass, by the way, all the way over there in this side of the table. So that would be my left still, but all the way over there to face off against the Chaos Knights, because those are chosen knights, and so they're very tough. He's got his wizard right here, and then I've also got my Pegasus Knights right there, and I've got my Pegasus Knights right there. So my turn 1 after he basically, his turn 1 out, he killed a bunch of these peasants with shooting, basically magic missiled them, and I killed some wolves with shooting, and there's another, down here, you can't see it, but down here I had peasants in some houses. They actually had a line to kill 2 of those guys, and so it was just us exchanging some shots, and he moved forward, of course, and then on my turn, these guys failed their impetuosity, and failed to charge and ended up right here, these Errant Knights. And that's not good. I put the Grail Knights right here to balance out the center. And then if you zoom in on this point right there, you'll see my Damsel. She's kind of like dancing in between those 2 units. But because I didn't get my movement trays in time, she's actually just in between the 2 units. He understands this. So that does come into play later. But she is, for movement purposes, she's actually kind of like right here on this tray, but she can't sit there on the brim of this tray, basically. So you've got these guys. You've got your Chaff model right here. He had 2 units of Chaos Hounds. I forgot what happened to the second unit, but I think I might have actually gotten off a conservative Fireball, because he did have the Hag Tree fetish or whatever it was, and so I wasn't really getting much magic off. She's just really there, a vessel to be within 24 inches of him, the level 4, to shut down his magic. And this unit got caught up with some flight, and he's got the Demon Prince right here, and he's got a Chariot right here. I remember. The archers shot from the house into that Chariot and did a wound on my first turn. So that's why that's missing a wound. We got an Armor Bane wound to go through there. And then there were the Dragon Ogres. So my turn 1, let me zoom out a little bit more, and you can see that he's got the giant Chaos Spawn. I didn't know how I was going to deal with that thing. And so I really had to be conservative on how I was going to use my Green Knight, because if I go up against the spawn, I'm going to be fighting that thing for a few turns, if not the whole game. It's toughness 6. I'm only strength 6. You know, even though I've got 2 wounds and the Dolorous Blade and the Spawn can't hurt me, I perceived that the Dragon Ogres were a bigger threat. So when I got the first turn, I decided to gamble on attacking the rear end of those Dragon Ogres, and it was a 14-inch charge, which I barely made. I got exactly 14 with the Green Knight to get into the rear end, and then I charged with the Pegasus Knights into the Drogers. So the Dragon Ogres swung at me. After I swung, I did 3 wounds to the Dragon Ogres with the Knights and the Pegasus, and then I did 3 wounds in the challenge with the Green Knight. The Green Knight's horse actually did something, so that's why. And that's why it's a split. Now, if you're in the comments section, I know that these things have 4 wounds apiece, but I believe you have to take a complete casualty, but it might be split up this time. I don't know. That's a weird one. That's one of those weird gray areas that I just went with. So the champion has 3 wounds has 3 wounds taken away from him, and the unit has 3 wounds taken off. Now the 2 that were available to swing into my Pegasus Knights, they flubbed their rolls, 1s and 2s. I got very lucky there, and so we were able to break this unit, and then I had some decisions to make. So on his turn, he charged the, the Errant Knights, and I thought it was a strategy thing. He said I would leave them there because otherwise the flank of your Pegasus Knights is going to be opened. And he charged in there, killed that unit, and then so the Chariot, the Demon Prince went in there, all those Errant Knights are dead, and that's what he did. And then he sat there, got rearranged around because he doesn't need to do anything because the Demon Prince has 360-degree line of sight, and he didn't want to turn the flank of that Chariot towards me. So what I did on my turn, this must have been my turn too, was I charged with the Grail Knights, okay? So I charged with the Grail Knights and the Pegasus Knights into the Chariot, and also touching the Demon Prince. And I did something very sneaky. I challenged the Demon Prince right out. And he's like, oh, this is great. You know, I'll be able to challenge one of these guys a turn, every single turn, because he's got 7 attacks. He's got the Ogre Blade. This guy is scary. I challenged straight out because I thought it would have the static combat res going in. The Grail Knights that were remaining in the battle line, so I had 4 of them. 3 of them were able to just put 3 wounds onto the Chariot, finish it off. The Pegasus Knights didn't even get to fight. But in that challenge, he got like 4 hits, of which are -3. I made some 6+ armor saves, and I made a 6+ ward save, and he got 1 wound through. And then he rolled for the Dragon Blade, the Ogre Blade, and only rolled a 2. He only rolled a 2. So now what happened was I ended up winning combat by 4, which popped the Demon Prince like a zit. I had also moved the Green Knight over here into this position because after that happened, I had moved the Green Knight in front of the Chaos Warriors, but after the initial clash right here, those that warrior unit panicked after seeing the Chariot destroyed within 6 inches. But let's see here. We'll go to the next picture. Same picture, you just look down there, the champion had died. And the champion didn't even get a chance to fight, but he took it right on the chin, and when that 1 wound came up, yeah, I won that combat for the price of 1 night. And I got very lucky there, but again, one thing that I was able to do this tournament was when I needed some saves to get made, I had made some saves. And it just happened to be on this guy that it was his armor saves rather than his ward saves, because I only failed 1 save. He only hit 4 times. He only hit 4 times and wounded like 3 times, and then I took 1 wound on the chin or something like that. But yeah, that's what happened. And then that Demon Prince popped because I think that they're good, but in the last edition, the last rendition, Demon Princes were too good. And so that is something to think about with these guys. They are a good dragon alternative. It's just that I think I got insanely lucky on that one. So then we come to this photo here. As you can see, we got the Grail Knights right there. And if we move up a little bit, We've got the Pegasus Knights that have decided to overrun to be right here on the flank. And then we're just kind of right out of his sight arc. Again, wings. The one thing that really happened a lot in this game is that the wings are a little bit ponderous to work around. The Green Knight's right there. I was hoping to catch this. I said, let's chaff this Chaos unit with the Green Knight and avoid the Chaos spawn. And that's why he's there in this position. We'll ignore the Chaos spawn. So the Chaos spawn, if he wants to, he's all the way down over here on this end. If he wants to, he can come towards these Grail Knights. These guys are running, so they become less of a threat because look at how far they are away. I finally got what I want here in the center. I have a Mexican standoff because he doesn't want to get too close to my Duke. I've got a Pillar of Fire out. You know, this is the game now. It's, oh, I've got Pillar of Fire. You better watch out. This is one thing that I hope that they change, you know, is the magic in this game just a little bit, you know, because I noticed in my one game that the level 2s, they're completely worthless. And I remember when I said in one stream that the proper place for the magic phase, the proper place for magic is the magic phase. I think they need to go back to that because, you know, if you have a level 2, it doesn't have a really whole lot to do. You know, I mean, you got the Hag Tree Fetish, but I got one spell off, you know, and when I got that off, I rolled a 6 and 2 5s. So it's like, oh, you want me to get rid of that 6 and you can try to dispel it. And he didn't dispel it, of course, but I've got 1, 2 Knight units to fight up against this one Chaos unit where they've lost a casualty thanks to archery fire. So that's the key factor here. It has now become a 2-on-1 fight rather than a 2-on-2 fight. One thing that if you're playing Bretonnia and you're kind of new, you have to remember that the one Lance of Knights isn't going to cut it against Chaos Warriors and Dwarves. You need 2 Lances of Knights to touch whatever you want to die. That way your numbers go up, and if you roll halfway decent, you'll be able to put enough static combat resolution onto a unit and maybe get them to break and run them down. That's all that initial push. That's very 6th edition, very 7th edition. You just want to put off enough casualties to take out some guys in the front rank so they can't really hit you back too hard effectively. So there's me on the flank there, and I'm in a really good position because if I have to, I can triple charge if this unit keeps on running. So there's that. So his turn comes around, and basically this is my turn, but this photo pretty much says what happened. So on his turn, he put out a template, decided to charge my Duke, who I got closer deliberately, and I countercharged with my Duke. Now, my Duke can take on a Chaos unit of Knights by himself all day, every day. That's kind of what he's there for. So I decided to offer up the Duke. I got him into combat with the Chaos Knights, and that's up in this corner. You can't really see it. And, of course, I challenged out their champion, and I killed him, and I won combat by 4. They backed off, and now they're ready for the Pegasus to charge in. And even though the Lance of the Duke is blunted, I'm still Strength 5, Armor Save 2+, and he doesn't have Lance anymore. Basically, what happened here was his warriors on his turn turned around. His spawn that's in the that you saw in the earlier portion of this was it only moved like 5 inches. Now I can see why you would bring something like that. It's really good for dealing with things that get into your back line. The average on 3 dice is 11 inches, which is nothing to shake a stick at. It's just that it wasn't coming around for him, and I don't consider gambling on the average. I don't consider that pulling the lever on a slot machine like you would with a bunch of Skaven weaponry or fanatics. I don't consider that to be the same. You're banking on average. You just might not get average. So he's effectively out of the game at this point. All right. So the spawn's not going to be a threat to me at this point in time. On my turn, basically, I charged the Pillar of Fire right there, sat there. It rolled a hit and did nothing. Charged with Grail Knights into that unit, double charge into that unit with the Damsel. I said, I'll throw the Damsel in. Why not? I've got Hammer Hand, and we'll put her in harm's way because she wants to be heroic too. And then my 2 Pegasus Knights that were left. Oh, he killed one of them, by the way, and wounded another one. They charged into the Chaos Wizard. And I think they were successful in killing him. But look at this devastation. And this is why I said I have to have the Grail Knights. The Grail Knights killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these guys. 5 or 6 of them with the Green Knight, and that's just utterly devastating. Of course, we eat this unit up, because you do not want to take this charge, because Grail Knights, they got a buff, and I'm really impressed with the buff that they gave the Grail Knights. They're still the same points as they were in 6th edition. They got the toughness 4, which is what I think they needed. They also got the leadership 9 value, and they got the ability to accept and receive challenges. They've always had that, but just those guys being toughness 4, weapon skill 6 now, they're going to outshine Chaos Warriors every single time. And that's huge, because I'm not hitting Chaos Warriors on 4s. I'm hitting them on 3s. And if the Green Knight's in there, he's of course going to take casualties. And one thing that kind of sucks about the Dolorous Blade is that it's only -1, but it's strength 6. I thought it was -2, but I had discovered that against my game in Skaven that it was only -1. But it didn't matter, because I was fighting a Warlock that had no armor or something like that, And oh, that's what happened to the first Warlock. I forgot. The Green Knight came out of the forest and killed him. So there you go. But getting back on track here, got the double charge, put the wizard in there, and said, let's get the Hammerhand and at least see if we could take out the front rank of guys. Because that's all you need to do is, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think he's 7 wide. If you take out 4 of those guys with 2 lances, you've pretty much done your job, because only in a couple of guys, you're going to have to divide your attacks against lances at that point. And so that'll be separate rolls. So one of them will be a miss, one of them will be a hit, probably won't even be a wound. And you have to make your opponent do decision-making like that. It's kind of like back in the old days of 8th edition, where it's like, I have 4 goblin characters up there, and you have to tell me which one. You have guys who cannot swing into the unit, so you have to show me which one you're going to attack individually, which divides up handfuls of dice, which is effective. So here we are. We only killed a couple of guys out of this unit, so it looks like we only killed 3. This lance thing didn't really do that much. I didn't really hit that hard. I think she might have killed 1, this one might have killed 1, and this one might have killed 1. But that's still enough to make them so it's like, okay, with these 2 guys dead, this guy can only swing here. And with one of these guys dead, this guy can only swing here. And then this guy might as well swing here and here. The champion might as well swing at the lady, and this guy might as well swing here. And that's exactly what happened, which is effectively you've broken up handfuls of dice, and now you've got to choose. Up here, you got the fight with the Pegasus Knights and the Duke. And, of course, we win that. We rout those guys off the table. And then over here, you can see my Pegasus Knights fighting the Wizard. And then there's the Great Pillar of Fire, and those four guys are on the hill cheering us on, as good peasants should. So here we are at the last photo of the game. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Down here in the lower corner, you got the Grail Knights and the Green Knight that overran and killed that. Now, I'm still pretty far away from that spawn down at the bottom of the board there that's been moving around closely. And then, of course, you see that the Grail Knights... Now, one thing the Pegasus Knights right here, they killed them, and what happened was I ended up getting 3 Armor Bane attacks off on this guy, and he just didn't have an armor save. He only had a 4-up by himself. And I guess one critique that I would have done differently is that I probably would have had him in a unit of Hounds by himself or a unit of Marauders, but... yeah, that he just didn't survive against that. Just went in there, killed him. We won the combat right here in the center, as you can see. Oh, yeah, right here. Oh, others. Whoops. There we go. In the center, we ran these guys down. They didn't get away from us, and I think he rolled low, and I rolled like shit, but we caught him. And then over here, it's just basically going to be. We wipe up at this point, and then we can move away from the chaos. And so that's how that game ended. He was a good sport about this. He did beat my Orcs and Goblins fair and square in the last tournament. I just feel a little ashamed about this revenge victory. He was rolling really low, but I see why he brought the chaos spawn. It's good on paper because 3d6 equals 11, and that was in his last game. It was the MVP against the Dark Elves because it was going into Shades, it was going into Corsairs, it was just mopping up whatever it touched that got into his back line, allowing him to come to my table before he got to me. My thoughts on this was it was a really tough game because against Chaos, it's a Mexican standoff, and I had to choose my battles. I couldn't get greedy. I'm glad I avoided the spawn and just put the Green Knight after coming out, killing the Dragon Ogres, and then on my second turn, just when I got into movement, I didn't want my Green Knight to fight in any combats. I wasn't going to put him into the Chariot. I wasn't going to put him into the, Demon Prince and just get Ogre Bladed to death. I think I made the right decision by, you see here, by using the Grail Knights as a vessel to just go after the Demon Prince. I said, these guys hit pretty hard. I can challenge them out, and maybe I'll get lucky, and that's exactly what happened. I'd say this is definitely one of those victories where I had a little bit more lady luck than I'm accustomed to with that Demon Prince being weapon skill 8, hits on 3s, and then just missing 4 of his attacks, not doing his thing. The Grail Knights came in clutch this day, but that's pretty heroic. And one thing that I try to do with Bretonnia is that I try to play them heroically. And so you had the most venerable of the Grail Knights say, stand back, brothers. I've got this. Very Space Marine-esque. Rest now, brother. I shall bear this burden. He goes out, charges the Demon Prince, and then they both disappear into a cloud of smoke. That's it. And then we'd like to think that this guy survived. Later on, maybe he only got they disappear into a cloud of smoke. He exorcises the demon. That's very Sir Galahad, the bravest of all of the knights. It was said that in the La Morte Arthur, whenever he would go out and he would exorcise demons, when he decided to die, which was his right, a prophet told him that he got to choose when he died. When he decided to die, angels came down and they escorted him to heaven very triumphantly, in a very triumphant fashion. So, that's a little bit of Arthurian legend there. He exorcised the demon, and we don't know what happened to him. But that's basically the long and short of it for this tournament. Thoughts after playing 4 tournaments for the year. I'm going to say that the talent has gotten better. That's a compliment to the community. That's a compliment to everybody, because when I came into this game initially for the first tournament, you had people who had never played before. You had a couple of OG veterans. There was one guy I was thinking who was going to show up at last minute who was probably going to win the tournament unless I beat him, but he didn't show up for this one. And so maybe in the next one, but now he'll have an advantage of building around this or something like that. Another thing that I would like to do is try Crusades, but I've got the final scores here. Let's see here, just in my gallery. I don't need I could flash this, but there's really no point. So I think there were 8 people that played, or 6 tables. Let's see here. So first match against let's see here, Skaven. They only scored 311 off of me. My second game against that was Skaven, my second game. My first game, they only scored 175 off of me. And then on the Warriors side, I only lost 182 points, of which I picked up 2,249 points off of his list, because he's like, I'll just give it to him because you can destroy this guy with your Duke and because I had 2 turns. I think this game ended pretty quickly. Because he realized that if I wanted to, I could destroy the giant spawn at my leisure, so he gave me full points, and he didn't need to do that. He could have. I was like, I didn't kill it. You don't have to give it to me. And he only scored 182 off of me. My score against Skaven, 1616. My score against Dark Elves, 1305. So I'm going to say, as far as talent over to this 4th tournament, as far as everybody kind of learning how to play, I'm going to say a lot of the players have made it into B tier. They've definitely learned since the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. There was even a 5th tournament that I didn't go to in the summer that my buddy Cornite Care Bear went to. And so they learned a lot from that one. But I was really glad to do this. I want to thank the tournament organizer. I believe his name was Chris. I believe that was his name. I could be butchering that. Just thank him for holding this last one, which gave me a chance to actually use my Bretonnians. I painted them all year. Had all you guys, if you've been following me on stream, both on Rumble and on YouTube, I've been painting these guys all freaking year. And let's see here. Let's hold on. Let's proper image up. Got to have something to look at. I've been painting these guys all freaking year, and it's been a journey with them, and it's good to see them out on the table. I think the army looks really good. I've got some flaws in some of the painting that I'm not happy with, but the one big challenge to painting this army that I had was getting into the mode of painting Bretonnians, remembering what I hadn't done for decades, for a decade at least. I haven't painted Bretonnians since the days of 7th edition, which was a long time ago. And so this is actually, I think I want to say that this is my 6th Bretonnian army. And there is going to be a number 7 that I'm going to do for Old Hammer purposes, because I want one to be red and blue, kind of like on the old box and everything like that. And that's just going to be a passion project, because I think that if I ever decide to sell one of the armies, it'll come back to me tenfold. And that's what you do when collecting miniatures and everything, is that you basically set yourself up to collect. And, it paid me back tenfold when I finally decided to get rid of my Lord of the Rings collection. I sold that for $1,700. And I made 15 off of that after eBay and seller fees. I did lose 40 on shipping, but I didn't know it was going to be a $98 shipping to New Jersey, But that's what you do. You collect, and I think having a second Bretonnian army is something that I want to do. That might be, and since I know how to do it now, and it's in my muscle memory, and the color scheme that I'm going to be choosing is way easier than this yellow, blue, gray color scheme that I've got, because I wanted to stay away from blue and red, and I wanted to stay away from black and red, because I don't know. For me, I always hate the colors of the Black Widow. I hate Black Widows themselves. I just don't like the color scheme of red and black together. I like black and white, and I chose this, and I said, yeah, we can put a little bit of orange in there too, like I've done for some of these guys, but they're going to be predominantly London gray, Prussian blue, and Uriel yellow, which I think turned out nice on some of these guys. The reason why the Grail Champion is all gray, let's see if I can find the picture of him real quick. Yeah, we'll zoom in on this guy, is because he's pious. And he doesn't need any of those flamboyant colors, He doesn't think much of himself. But he proved to be the most venerable MVP in the entire game, but with what he did, Made some armor saves. And that's one thing that you need to be a successful Bretonnian player, I think, is that you just need to make enough armor saves to keep yourself in the game. Now, I'm not, knock on wood, hopefully I don't fail so many armor saves that I lose an entire unit. Just out the door, but that's about it. It's been a very busy couple of months for me. I'm glad that I've got some vacation coming up, so no live stream. This is what you get for the week on Rumble and on YouTube. I will probably return to live streaming next week, because I'm going out of town. I'm going to St. George. I might bring my Conquest army down there if a buddy wants to come up from Vegas and play me. I'll do that, but yeah, just seeing these guys out. I had a good tournament. The only drawback is I didn't have my trays, but that's okay. They arrived Monday after the tournament, and now my guys are in the trays. So, yay, movement trays. And that was one problem I had. I did not win Best Painted. There was one guy there. I guess he had a pretty good-looking Dark Elf army, I'm not going to lie. But I think that I had the most tremendous painted army. Nobody had a better painted army over there at that tournament than me. There was a Beastman player who was there. Oh, I forgot. There was a guy there, but I guess he had to go. Something came up and he had to drop. and his army was painted. I thought he might win, but the Dark Elf guy got it, and that's okay because I had like I said, he's a very gracious tournament organizer. I had already won 2 best painteds with greenskins, so I will take that. So 4 tournaments, 2 best painteds, finally, and then 4 tournaments, 3 of which where I came in second place, and then I finally came in first. But again, I was playing more gentlemanly in those first 2 tournaments. I do feel kind of dirty after using this list. Bretonnians are tough, and I'm not going to complain about it because I think that they're an antidote to Dragonhammer, and you got to have an antidote to Dragonhammer. And I think that one thing I do like about this game so far is that there are multiple antidotes out there. So the meta's going to shift, but it's not going to shift too hard. If you're stuck with an army that's a legacy faction, you know, maybe you want to move away and get one of the factions that they decided to focus on. You know, I think they could have swapped out. They could have entered in one more bad guy army, at least either vampire counts or dark elves, or you know, I really think that they dropped the ball and they could have brought in chaos. What do you call it? Chaos. Dwarfs or something like that, but they were already destroyed to begin with. So you know you have the bad guy factions for Tomb Kings, Orcs and Goblins, Chaos and Beastmen, and then you have the good guy factions. But you know I see a reason to maybe have had the Dark Elves in there or something like that. But you know at the time of history that they're in, it kind of fits. But I don't feel ashamed having used this list. One guy called it, oh, dude, I was looking at your sheet of paper. I had my list on a piece of paper, and he's like, it's a crusher. It's a crusher, dude. It's I think I could have made something slightly different. And if I had a few more knights, I was going to do Crusader because that's lots of knight units, and that's kind of what that's predicated on, lots of knight pyramids. But as far as this first outing, I will take it. I only had 1 preparatory game for my best friend, which I lost. If I get a chance to put that battle report out, I will. But I am saying I did lose my first practice game because I did get greedy. And that's what that game did teach me is don't get greedy. Use the Green Knight to go after certain things that you don't want in your line, especially if they fly. So use the Green Knight to go after the Necrosphinx. And then use your Duke to go after the Dragon. That's what I learned from that game. And then be careful how you use your Green Knight. So I took a gamble going into the Dragon Ogres with a single unit of Pegasus Knights and going into the, what do you call it? Rear end with just that. And that was a huge gamble, but it paid off. I did just enough wounds to run those guys down, and they didn't do anything to me. And, you know, I trusted in the lady, and the lady protected and rewarded me, I guess, you know. So, like I said, this is all you get for the week. Monster Fest is still on there, so I suggest you watch the videos. If you need to get in touch with me, leave a comment. Both on Rumble and on YouTube. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. I'll have nothing better to do while I'm on vacation. And then if you want to get in touch with me and talk shop, you can get in touch with me on Instagram. The links to Rumble and Instagram are in the entries below the description. And that's about it. I hope you have a safe Halloween and a good rest of your week. And we'll see you in the next one.
I'm more of an expert at exposing the moon. Get out of your telescope! See if you find the one crater.